In question 1, we're asked, if each issue of magazine X is exactly 2 inches wide, how wide would 150 issues of magazine X placed one next to another be? In a word problem, the word each generally indicates a rate. So for example, if each issue is 2 inches wide, what that tells us is that the width is 2 inches per magazine. If we know the width, that's 2 inches per, if we know that the width is 2 inches per magazine, we can multiply that by the number of magazines to get the total width. So algebraically, the way we would write that is 2 as the width per magazine times the number of magazines, which is 150, is going to give us 300, which is the total width, 300 inches. So generally, when you see the word each in a word problem, what you want to do first is determine the rate that is being given to you, and then you want to multiply to get the total. So let's try it again with this next question. Question 2 says, each bottle of apple juice Y contains 14 ounces of juice. If Ashley bought 560 ounces of apple juice for her party, how many bottles of apple juice did she buy? So if each bottle contains 14 ounces of juice, what that means is we have 14 ounces per bottle. We will multiply that by the number of bottles, and that's going to give us the total amount of juice. So algebraically, we can write that as 14 as the 14 ounces per bottle. But now we're not told how many bottles. So when you're not given the number of something, put a variable for that. We'll put B just to remember we're dealing with bottles. This gives us the total. We are given the total. She bought 560 ounces, which is all the apple juice for the party, we can assume. And so 14B, or 14 times B, equals 560. We can divide both sides by 14. Divide by 2, let's say this is going to be 280 over 7, and 7 into 280 is 40. So Ashley bought 40 bottles. Now let's take a look at one more question. It's a little bit more complicated. In this question, we're told that, in question 3, we're told that each member of a club donated either 2 jackets or 5 sweaters to a clothing drive. If the club is 13 members and 44 articles of clothing were donated, how many members donated jackets? We're given 2 rates here. We're told that each member donated either 2 jackets or 5 sweaters. So we can assume that nobody donated both jackets and sweaters. You either donate 2 jackets or you donate 5 sweaters. So the 2 rates are 2 jackets per person and 5 sweaters per person. So let's take a look at the first rate. Some people donated 2 jackets each, or 2 jackets per person. We're going to multiply that by the number who donated jackets. So the number of people who donated jackets. And this gives us total jackets donated. Same thing. If some people are donating 5 sweaters each, or 5 sweaters per person, we're going to multiply that by the number of people who donated sweaters, and this gives us the total sweaters donated. And algebraically, the way what that's gonna look like is, well, 2 jackets per person times the number of people who donated jackets. We don't know how many donated jackets, so I'll use a variable J. This is going to be 2J. The number of people that donated, we don't know how many people donated sweaters, so I'll use S for that. So algebraically, 5 sweaters times S gives us 5S. And we add these together because that's going to give us the total number of articles of clothing, which we know is 44. The next step you need to do to solve this question is, if the club has 13 members, well, all the people who donated jackets plus all the people who donated sweaters is equal to 13, because, as we said before, you either donate jackets or sweaters. And now we have 2 equations to solve this. So in the interest of space and time, I won't actually go through this. This is just more important for you to know how to set it up. But just to recap, the way to deal with each question is first to determine the rate. So if each issue is 2 inches wide, it's 2 inches per issue or per magazine. If each bottle contains 14 ounces, that's 14 ounces per bottle. You can think of the word each as per to help you make that rate. Each member donates 2 jackets, that's 2 jackets per member. And then you multiply to get the total. So if your rate is 2 inches per magazine, you're multiplying by the number of magazines. If your rate is each bottle is 14 ounces or 14 ounces per bottle, you multiply by the number of bottles. You're always multiplying by the amount or the number of things, items that comes after the word each. If it's each bottle, number of bottles. If it's each member, you multiply by the number of members, and so on.